Good morning. It's Friday the 25th of July 2025. Now that the crops are gathered, for me anyway, it's about getting on to doing lots of other jobs. And around the farm, your work is never done. Anyway, we're just going to look at the Ukraine, and what the heading of this is: Ukraine, where is the truth? You're right. You know there's always not a little bit of fun in my videos here and there, and a wee bit of mischief. But at the same time, I have to be very careful that people understand the difference of a serious video and maybe something that's to do with old tradition in Ireland and old folklore and stuff. But the amount of pure lies that's on the internet is unbelievable. And YouTube have a lot to answer for. 3 years ago, they were allowing advertising of a little device about the size of a small loaf of bread, and they claimed that it heat your room up with nearly no electricity. All it was just an electric heater, a little throwaway, little thing out of China, and the glowing reports they gave of it. And they allow that. There's many other advertisements on there. Now, one of the things you can post for me, I understand there are no advertisements on my videos because they're not commercialized, they're not monetized. I'd like commenters there to just tell me, is there breaks in my videos for ads, for advertisements? I'm not too sure. Now, you also get videos starting off. They opened King Henry II's coffin, and what they found shocked the world. They dug under Jerusalem, and what they found shocked the world. They dug up here or they dug there, and what they found shocked the world. That's all clickbait. That's designed to get you in, so you have to look at some ad, and they profile you. One of the ones they're starting to do on me now is they're starting to tell me about nursing home care. How it's your world, it's your life, and we look after you in a nursing home. And you'd think they were going to provide you with the same life in a nursing home that you will have when you're at home and about. And this is the way they put it across when they try to get you into various schemes to pay for and all of that. So that's all right. Nursing home care is an essential thing, but it's the way they spin it and the sheer falsehoods they put in. And then there's other ones where they tell you maybe such a famous actress, we'll call her Monica Sheridan, we'll call her Fitzpatrick, a famous actress, died by hanging. And that's a nasty one. And then you click into it and you see that it tells you how she's still alive. In one case, there's a well-known lady actor who's alive. She's 94. And she's put down as having committed suicide. And this is allowed on YouTube, no problem. And yet they won't let me talk about this thing in here. The pandemic thing. I mentioned that at all, I'm banned. They wouldn't let me say that Trump bombed Iran. They banned me for a week over that because they said it was hate speech. So that's the kind of situation we're dealing with. Having said that, it must be said that such a simple thing. No other platform is able to give the service YouTube gives. Whatever is wrong with them, they are so stupid. Imagine there's no corporation in the world, including Rumble, that can handle videos like me the same as YouTube. Try to do it, won't work. It's a mess. And the uploading procedure is a complete and utter mess. And BitChute, they're whinging, we're only a small operation. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is to upload a video on BitChute. Anyway, I'm going to talk here about the Ukraine and give you an update, because from everyone I talked to and from my own van radio, nothing is coming out of there at all. Now, the situation is this. The EU has printed money, they're printing money, but they have no weapons places. Now, one of the reasons for that is they always cursed and condemned people who shoot for a hobby. I enjoy shooting because of the accuracy of it, both clay pigeon shooting and the equipment and all that, and the nerve it takes and the skills it takes and the camaraderie in it And I also enjoy the rifle shooting, where I'm often trying to hit an egg at 150 yards, and sometimes do. So these are skills that, along with other hobbies I enjoy, but they have me restricted in what I can get and what I can do, and I can't get certain firearms that would test my skills more, even though I'm proven to be competent in them and for years carried them. They won't allow you. So this is the nanny state. The biddy biddies. Oh, me granny's hip is all that matters to me. Oh, to hell with you, you see. We're a minority thing. But when the war came in Ukraine, they had lifted all the guns of people, and then they started giving them guns to try and get them to fight. So a certain amount of civilian weapons is a good thing, provided they're properly supervised by the Garda Síochána, and which I would do. Moreover, because we would be buying ammunition, that means that the factories are kept going. The ammunition factories, and they're nearly all gone in Europe except for a few. And the ones that are there now can be put into service for ordinary ammunition. But when it comes to the big artillery, of course, you couldn't have it. Nobody wants artillery in the garden. So that's a problem. So Europe is in a bad way for munitions and for weapons of war, and it'll take them years to make weapons of war because they've clamped down on industry. As currently, if you wanted to open a factory building tanks, get a good design of a tank, for example, for the battlefield, you would have to buy carbon credits of some fella that shut his factory. And you'd have to buy expensive energy, which is nearly 3 times the price it should be because of renewable energy and the other lies that are being told about that. So the situation now is, it's come to a head, and they relied on America, and Trump got in, and the American people are a bit sick of European wars, and Trump knows that, and so it'll be very hard to cajole America into fighting wars in Europe again, and they see the Pacific, the Asian Pacific, China, that as a bigger threat. Okay. Now, the next thing we'll do is we'll look at it. The Russians are whacking the Ukrainians big time. Ukraine is nearly ready to collapse. There have been 2 monitors for money going into Ukraine put in there by Joe Biden, whose son Hunter was involved in rifling something or taking money or something in Ukraine, but they're now being banned. They're now being banned by Zelensky, who has also banned certain religions there. So what's happening in Ukraine now is they're losing, they're doubling down. They know the most important thing is to keep that regime going. Don't let it collapse. And Russia's pushing on. So if Ireland was Ukraine, it's not the same shape. Ukraine is roughly the shape of County Monaghan. But if Ireland was Ukraine, right up from Wexford, Wicklow, Dublin, Meath, Louth, Down and Antrim are already in Russian hands. And they're moving around now for Cork. And we'll say that Kiev is where Longford is, and they're moving towards it. They're already hammering it. Now, one of the things that happened 2 nights ago was the Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink, shut down for some reason. I think it was an accident. And it meant the whole Ukraine military was finished. They couldn't operate without Elon Musk's Starlink. Now, so that's the thing. So technology is playing a big part in it. Now, it's not all over for now. The elites in the Ukraine are very heavily pro-America and pro-Europe, and want into the EU, particularly in the western part of Ukraine, and they're trying to stand up to it. The other thing is that even if Zelensky was got out, and I'd say the Americans are trying to force him out, who'd want his job? Because if you have to do a deal with Russia, the elites and the Nazis will kill you. So there's no end to this in sight. Now, President Trump says there's 350 billion unaccounted for. And this is happening as Zelensky shuts down the 2 monitoring organizations to monitoring money into Ukraine. Whether they were doing the job right or not, I won't say. I would distrust them a bit, but he shuts them down. So clearly there's a huge rip-off. The money's being pulled in. Some of it's going to the military and all. Some of it's going to run Ukraine, but the rest is going down into the pockets of the few people around Zelensky. And they all know that the whole thing's heading for collapse, and they're going to bail out, and I don't know where they'll go to. It'll be either probably somewhere in Europe. Where will that leave NATO? It will have failed. It leaves NATO and the Europeans that they can't depend on America anymore. And there's another 3 years of Trump's period there. So what's going to happen? It's unfortunate for the Ukrainians. There seems to be a very strong Nazi element in Western Ukraine. That's why they wouldn't yield to Russia. Now, Zelensky's talking about having talks in Ankara in Turkey. I think it's Ankara. Don't hold me on that. Istanbul? No, maybe it's in Istanbul. But Zelensky's talking about having talks, and it looks like at this stage he'd be prepared to capitulate and allow the conquered territories, or some of them, to be kept by Russia. But I think at this stage Russia realises you can't have him there at all. Their object is to push out the whole thing, perhaps even conquer all Ukraine. Get these people out, let them have a government in exile in Geneva or somewhere, and then build up a new government there. Could be talking about 10 years till it's fixed. Now, I said at the beginning of it that it'd last 2 years. So am I wrong? Like, it's 3 and a bit now. I'll let you judge that. But the one thing I didn't do was, I didn't go along with the mainstream media's angle that it'd be over in a couple of months and Putin would be got rid of. Now, the other thing Trump is doing a bit is sanctions, although he's holding back on them. Lindsey Graham wants massive sanctions. The EU wants secondary sanctions. In other words, they want to sanction countries that actually deal with Russia. Now, deal with Russia for various things. Now, one of the things about secondary sanctions, if they sanction countries that buy Russian oil and say, right, you buy Russian oil, we will stop you dealing with America. That's very tricky. And that has backfired up to now. It hasn't stopped the Russian economy improving. But one of the things, the first casualty would be the European Union, that's still importing vast amounts of gas and oil from Russia. So you'd have to have the United States putting sanctions on the EU, and you'd have to have the EU putting sanctions on itself. Does anyone want to riddle me that? So it's not going well for them. God help you people in Ukraine. I do feel for you. But unfortunately, you can't be allowed to win this. We cannot have a victory by the EU or by NATO or by America, because they have turned against their own people, have turned against you, have turned against me, are flooding the place with migrants for no other reason to get their vote over us in time to come. They've turned their own people, as you see in Britain. The protests are taking place all over the place, protests all over Ireland. What is wrong? Somebody is forcing the government to do these things. And how did the governments get in there, and why do people elect them? Well, the answer is they didn't, because the current government doesn't have a majority. I heard nothing back from the meeting in Cootehill on the neutrality. Apparently it was badly attended in Dergill House last Wednesday night, but maybe somebody'd let me know. I'll hear something soon. I think there was no interest. I don't know. Sinn Féin realised that it's a hot potato for them to have Irish conscription. One of the big things to think about there, and I'm only provoking thought, supposing that the Irish leave neutrality, even without conscription, and the Irish Army and the Navy and that are brought in under the European flag, under NATO essentially, and the Americans refuse to fight the Russians in a particular war, what will happen? Well, you see, up to now, it's the Americans' commander that runs everything. So if you had a war right now, it'd be an American commander that would run all the NATO countries and all the countries. In the Iraq war, Britain and Canada, I think Australia, joined in under the American umbrella. But if you have no Americans, what general will be running the military campaign? And it could very well likely be a British general. So Sinn Féin would be recommending Irish people from Northern Ireland join the Irish Army in Southern Ireland to fight under a British general fight the Russians over there in Eastern Europe. Do you get the point? So this is a highly complex thing, and I'd say Sinn Féin realises that. Of course, my position is very, very clear. We mind our own patch and everyone else keep out. And mind it big time. We have only one weak spot, and that is that there's vast communication lines going out of Kerry across to the Americas. Well, if they want it protected, we'd have to have a navy that doesn't go home for its tea, and we'd have to have a permanent presence out there. I mean, America blew up Germany's Nord Stream pipeline. So what's to stop Russia blowing up the Irish connecting cables? Imagine if you have Bitcoin and you try to go online and you discover that there's no connection. It'd take very little to break down this internet system we have, and if it did, there'd be you could banking and all would go on it. I'm just provoking thought. Certainly contribute underneath your little tuppence halfpenny worth. I mightn't have time to respond to them all, how it's going, but that's how it's going. It's going very, very bad for the European Union. It's going very bad for Ursula von der Leyen. They are a dictatorship. They don't allow any dissent, and it's going bad even for the Americans, and Trump is not going to spring a deal there at all. There's going to be no deal on the Ukraine. Meanwhile, he has the Middle East to worry about. We'll not go there today. And he has China, according to him. But this thing about forever wars, he criticised, but it looks like these forever wars are going to be there. As far as I'm concerned, we keep out, and just leave our lines alone and let them rip it somewhere else, but not off Ireland. But that might be wishful thinking. Give me your views on that, folks. It's really to provoke a wee bit of response from you on 16 minutes, and we'll see you back soon. Thank you.